Hello and welcome to Excel Mathematics TV. This presentation will be about adding integers. We know what integers are, and in this lesson we will dig deeper and learn more about integers. We will study how to add them. Let's start with integers with the same sign. How do we add integers if they have the same sign? We actually have two methods to find the sum of integers with the same sign. Let's discuss those methods by solving an example. We have positive 5 plus positive 1. The first method is by using counters. Let's have a quick review about counters. For those who don't know yet, counters can be used to model integers. We have two types of counters. Yellow counters represent positive integers, while red counters represent negative integers. We're going to add one yellow counter and one red counter, which is also 1 plus negative 1. The answer would be 0. From there, we can arrive with the definition of zero pair. It is when the sum of opposite integers is 0. Since the answer is 0 when we added positive and negative 1, then 1 and negative 1 are a zero pair. Let's go back to our example and start solving it using counters. Since the first number is positive, 5, and positive integers are represented by yellow counters, we put 5 yellow counters on the mat to represent positive 5. Look at our given. The other number is positive 1, right? Then we put another yellow counter to represent positive 1. Now we just need to count the counters on the mat to get the final answer. It's always pretty fun to count, so let's go for it. If you counted correctly, you know that there are 6 yellow counters. That means positive 5 plus positive 1 is equal to positive 6, or simply 6. Now that was pretty easy. Now let's use the other method to solve the same example. The second method is by using the number line. You know what a number line is, right? Then you should know that we move to the right to add positive integers and to the left to add negative integers. Let's solve positive 5 plus positive 1 again. So here's the number line. To represent positive 5, we move 5 units from 0 to the right. We landed on 5 on the number line, so from 5, move 1 unit to the right to represent positive 1. Now look at the number line closely. We can find the sum by looking at where we landed on the number line. Look, it's on positive 6. Thus, positive 5 plus positive 1 is equal to positive 6, or simply 6. And we got the same answer. So that means both methods really work. Let's have another example in adding integers with the same sign. Let's find negative 3 plus negative 6. We will try both methods in solving this example. Let's use the first method, which is using counters. As you can see, the integers are both negative in our example. Which counter represents negative integers again? That would be the red counters. So put 3 red counters on the mat to represent negative 3, and put 6 red counters to represent negative 6. Now we just need to count the counters on the mat to get the answer. If you counted them right, you should know that there are 9 red counters. So our answer using the first method is 9 and the sign is negative. Let's see if we will get the same answer using the second method, which is using the number line. We will represent each integer on the number line. Remember, move to the left if the integer is negative, and to the right if the integer is positive. Keep that in mind when using the number line in adding integers. The first integer is negative 3. So, starting from 0, move 3 units to the left to represent it, just like this. Now, let's represent the second integer, which is negative 6. We just need to move 6 units to the left from where we previously landed on the number line. To find the sum, just look where we landed. And that's pretty easy. We landed on negative 9. Then the sum is negative 9. Thus, negative 3 plus negative 6 is equal to negative 9. We've been adding integers with the same sign so far. Now let's study how to add integers with different signs. Remember this: remove any zero pair when using the counter method. Let's have our example. We have negative 2 plus 7. In this topic, we will also use the two methods we just learned. Let's use the counter method first. So we have 2 integers we should add, negative 2 and positive 7. To represent negative 2, we put 2 red counters on the mat, and 7 yellow counters to represent positive 7. Then remove any zero pair. We can find the sum right away after removing all the zero pairs and counting the remaining counters. As we count, we will discover that there are 5 yellow counters. Yellow counters means positive, right? So the sum here is positive 5. Now let's try using the number line to get the sum. This is the number line. Just do what we have been doing with our examples and solving them using the number line. -2 is represented like this. We should always start from 0 when representing the first integer. Then we pick up from where we ended and move 7 units to the right to represent positive 7. Where did we land on the number line? At positive 5. Then the sum is positive 5. And we got the same answer. Thus, -2 plus 7 is equal to positive 5, or simply 5. Let's add more integers with different signs. Find 8 plus -4. I'm sure you know how to add this one. So let's do this. Using counters, put 8 yellow counters on the mat to represent positive 8, and 4 red counters to represent -4. You see, we removed 4 zero pairs. Now, just counting the remaining counters, there are 4 yellow counters. That means the answer is positive 4. Let's add using the second method. On the number line, represent positive 8 by moving 8 units to the right from 0, and -4 by moving 4 units to the left from positive 8. Look, we landed on positive 4. That means 8 plus -4 is 4. The methods we studied are the long methods. There's actually a faster way of adding integers. We just need to know the rules. Let's talk about the rules in adding integers with the same sign. If we're adding 2 positive integers, it's positive integer plus positive integer equals positive integer. Let's have an example to understand the concept even more. If we have 2 plus 3 equal to 5, both addends are positive, so the sum should also be positive. Next is the negative integer. Negative integer plus negative integer is equal to negative integer. A good example is -2 plus -3 is -5. You see, the sum is negative because the addends are both negative as well. Remember, just add the numbers and copy the common sign. Let's now move to the rules in adding integers with different signs. How do we add positive integer plus negative integer, or negative integer plus positive integer? Of course, you know how to add them using the 2 methods, but what is the rule? We subtract whichever has smallest absolute value from the one with greater absolute value, and take the sign of the integer with greater absolute value. We will understand the concept further if we will have examples. Let's have -8 plus 2. 8 is greater than 2, and its sign is negative. Also, 8 minus 2 is 6. We subtracted 2 from 8 because 2 is the integer with the smaller absolute value. Then copy the sign of the greater absolute value. So the sum is -6. Let's have one last example. What is -2 plus 8? You see, 8 is greater than 2, and its sign is positive. Notice that we use the same numbers, but we interchange the signs. So the sum is also the same number, but the sign is different. Then the sum is positive. -2 plus 8 is 6. That's all for this lesson. There are several ways to add integers and even solve other math problems. You can choose whichever method you like. Just make sure that you are doing it right and you get the correct answer. Thank you.